Basic sheet. It'll get us hands-on with the counting principles. It's important to go through this. It's simple. That'll ensure that you understand the stuff that has been covered. So sheet 1, permutation combination. In the first problem, we are talking of 10 consonants and 4 vowels. 10 consonants and 4 vowels, and we want to be able to constitute words comprising 6 consonants and 3 vowels. We want to constitute a word with 6 consonants and 3 vowels. The question then is, how many words with 6 consonants and 3 vowels could be constructed out of these, right? So first thing that I do is, out of 10 consonants, I select 6 consonants. I can select 6 consonants from 10 available in 10C, 6 ways, right? And then I want to be able to select 3 vowels from 4 available, which I can do in 4C, 3 ways. Now, I have a string of n letters, 9 letters, right? Which I want to rearrange, because the same set of letters, this is just a selection made. But now, with this selection in place, I want to be able to rearrange these 9 things. And every rearrangement would be looked upon as a different word. Yes or no? Right? So these 9 things. So first I select the 6 consonants and the 3 vowels in these many ways, and then the 9 things that I obtain, I permute them in different locations, 9 locations in 9 factorial ways. So then these would be the different number of words that could be constituted out of 6 consonants, 3 vowels, and so on and so forth. Select 6 consonants in these many ways, 3 vowels in these many ways, and then the 9 things that you have selected, you want to permute them in 9 spaces in 9 factorial ways. These would be the number of words, right? Right? Okay. Number of ways in which one or more balls could be selected from 10 white balls, 9 green balls, 7 blue balls. We will assume that the 10 white balls are identical, the 9 green balls are identical, they're all identical essentially. Now, in our mode of selection of one or more balls from this, there are 10 white balls, right? I could select, it does not matter which white ball is being selected. I could select 0 white ball, 1 white ball, 2 white balls, 3, 10 white balls. That means, in how many ways can I deal with the white balls? 11 ways. Not selecting a white ball, that's one way. Selecting 1 white ball, yet another. 2 white balls, a third way. 3 white balls, a fourth way. 10 white balls, an 11th way. So 11 ways of dealing with the white balls. Selecting 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 10. Right? 11 ways of dealing with the white balls. Right? Then, in how many ways can I deal with the 9 green balls? 10 ways. Selecting 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 9. 10 ways of dealing with the green balls. And then 7 balls, blue balls. 0, 1, 2 or 7. How many ways? 8 ways. Which makes it 880. But this includes that one case in which no white ball, no green ball, no blue ball is selected. So you want to exclude that case because you want to select at least one ball from here. So that makes it 879 ways of selecting one or more balls from this collection. You know, right? No, here, no. See, if they were different, you could have done that. They are all identical. So then a mode of selection, see, you have to have that comprehension, combinatrix. What would be looked upon as a mode of selection? See, I could have had 3 white balls, 2 green balls, and 4 blue balls selected, where this 3 could be any 3 from the 10 white. This 2 could be any 2 from the 9 green. This 4 could be any 4 from the 7. But when you do that 26C2, then that distinguishes between the 3 specific that you have selected. But the 3 specific that you have selected is the same in this case because they are identical balls. In this case, it's about a given collection would be looked upon as how many white balls, how many green balls, how many blue balls. That's a mode of selection. Because the white balls, the green balls, and the blue balls are all identical. Right? That is how we look at it. You understand this difference? Problem 3. We are writing all numbers from 1 to 1000. All numbers are written. One, two, three. I write down all numbers sequentially, let's say. In the process, I'll write 3 a certain number of times. I want to find the total number of times I have written 3 while writing all numbers from 1 to 1000. That's what I want to be able to do. You know what I'm saying? Now, while I'm doing this, in certain numbers, 3 will appear once. In certain numbers, 3 will appear twice. And in one number, 3 will appear thrice. Right? These are all exclusive cases. They don't mess up each other, right? 3 appearing once would be one set of cases. 3 appearing twice would be the second set of cases. 3 appearing thrice would be the third set of cases. These are cases and they will all add up to the required number, right? So now 3 appearing exactly once. Now, do you realize all numbers, see, in any case, I can exclude 1000 because 1003 is not even appearing, right? Right? So it doesn't produce a count at all. So all numbers from 1 to 999, all numbers are of the form ABC. All numbers from 1 to 999 are of the form ABC. What do you say? Right? Where, you know, if A and B are both 0, it will give me a single digit number. Right? If A is 0, it will give me 2-digit numbers. And so on and so forth. Right? So all numbers from 9 to 9 have a generic representation ABC. Right? Now 3 appearing exactly once. It could appear in any of the 3 locations. Right? It could appear in any one of the 3 locations. It could appear here, or here, or here. 3 ways. 3 ways, right? Where 3 could appear. right? So 3 appearing in any one of the locations. 3 ways. It could appear at A, or it could appear at B, or it could appear at C. Now, right? Say for example 3 appeared at A. Say for example 3 appeared at A, right? Now with 3 appearing at A, how many numbers? B could be anywhere from 0 to 9 except 3. Except 3. Because 3 is appearing only once. So in how many ways can B be selected? 9 ways. Again at C, all numbers could appear except 3. Because 3 is appearing exactly here, right? So 9 ways of selecting BC. Yes or no? That means with 3 appearing here, the number of ways in which the remaining 2 could be selected is 81. With 3 appearing here, the number of ways in which in which A and C could be selected would be 81, right? See, with 3 appearing here, the number of ways in which A and C could be selected is 9 into 9, 81. With 3 appearing here, the number of ways in which A and B could be selected is 9 into 9, 81. So that makes it 3 eligible locations for A, B and C. And for each of these cases, there are 81 numbers that could be constituted, right? There are 3 possibilities. 3 possibilities. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. And for each of these cases, there are 81 ways of selecting the remaining 2 with 3 appearing exactly once. So for 3 cases, these are the 3 cases. For each of them, there are 81 ways of selecting the remaining 2 digits. Yes or no? That means there are 243 numbers in which 3 appears exactly once. There are 243 numbers in which 3 appears exactly once. Yes or no? 243 numbers in which 3 appears exactly once. Right? Now, 3 appearing exactly twice. Now, in this ABC, 2 places will have to be selected to plug in 3, right? 2 places will have to be selected, where I am going to just throw 3. In how many ways can I select 2 places from 3 available? 3C2, 3C2 ways. I am selecting 2 places and I am going to plug in 3 there. Isn't it? So if I select A and B where I am going to plug in 3, or I select B and A where I am going to plug in 3, are they different? No, na? So I am just selecting 2 places where I am going to place 3. Isn't it? So first of all, select 2 spaces. Select 2 to plug 3. 2 spaces to plug 3. 2 spaces, A, B and C looked upon as spaces. 2 out of 3 spaces to be selected. In how many ways can that be done? 3C2 ways. Right? Right? The third space could be filled up in 9 ways to the exclusion of 3, because now 3 is appearing exactly twice. It can't appear one more time. So the third space can be filled up in 9 ways. From 0 to 9, you exclude 3. So that makes it 9 ways. So the first you select the 2 spaces in which the 3's are plugged in these many ways. Then the third space can be filled up in 9 ways. Yes or no? 3C2 is 3. 3 into 9, that makes it 27 numbers in which 3 appears exactly twice. There are 27 numbers in which 3 appears exactly twice. No? Didn't understand this now? See, these are the numbers. Say for example, I select A and B where 3 is going to appear. Right? Now C can be filled up in how many ways? 9 ways. So how many numbers are there with A and B as 3 and C selected other than 3? 9 numbers. Right? Then I could select, say A as 3, C as 3, B can be selected in how many ways? 9 ways. I select B as 3, C as 3. In how many ways can A be selected? 9 ways. Yes or no? So this is the case in which A and B. See, in each of these, I'm selecting between A, B, amongst A, B and C. Two of them where 3's would be plugged in. Right? So how many cases are these? One case in which A and B is selected, and that gives me 9 numbers. Another case in which 3 and 3 is selected as A and C, and B is filled up in 9 ways. Third case in which B and C is selected as 3 and A could be filled up in 9 ways. Therefore, there are 9 numbers obtained from this. Right? It could be 330, 331, 332, 334, 335. 333 is not allowed here because 3 is appearing exactly twice. So there are 9 ways, 9 such numbers, 9 such numbers, 9 such numbers. That makes it 27. 1, 2, see, of A, B and C, 2 selected in 3C 2 ways. That makes it 3. 1, 2, 3. Right? And for each of these cases, there are 9 possibilities of filling up the third space. So the 2 spaces out of ABC selected in 3C 2 ways, the third space to be filled up in 9 ways. So there are 27 numbers in which 3 appears exactly twice. Have I been able to communicate the thought to you? Huh? Okay. Then 3 appearing exactly thrice. Is just one case. Right? Now the number of 3's. This gives me 243 numbers in which 3 appears exactly once. So there will be 243 3's that must be written. There must be 243 3's that must be written where 3 appears exactly once. Now, in 27 numbers, 3 appears twice. That means 54 cases. These are 54 3's written, isn't it? 27 numbers. In each of these numbers, 3 is written twice. So 3 is written 54 times here. 3 is written 54 times here. Yes or no? Nahin samjhe na? Did you understand that there are 27 numbers in which 3 is written twice? That means in each number, 3 appears twice. So in 27 numbers, 3 will appear 54 times now. In how many? Isn't it? Every number has 3 appearing twice. There are 27 numbers. So in 27 numbers, you will have to write 3 54 times. Yes or no? Nahin. No? Okay. This is number 1. 331. 332, for example. Right? Etc. How many such numbers are there in which 3 appears twice? Yes, 27 numbers are there. That's what I calculated. 27 numbers in which 3 appears exactly twice. Didn't understand this. So if each of these numbers has given birth to 2 3's, then 27 numbers will into 2. That's what I'm saying. So 54 times 3 has been written now. In writing all those numbers in which 3 appears twice, 3 would have to be written 54 times. Because there are 27 such numbers in which 3 has appeared twice. So isn't it? So in all, there would be 54 3's that will appear in the count. Isn't it? Are you all sure about this? Yes. So then there will be 54 3's. No, still, keep asking me. I mean, it's all right. You're just a learner. If you don't understand in one shot, please ask me again. Huh? Yes, please ask.
Sir, I am saying that this can be also done like taking 1 digit first and in 1 digit number, how many would appear in second digit? 2 digit number. Yes.
So that is like 3 into 10 into 10. But your logic is not right. I'll look at what you say, but that's not the logic. I could have done it in one line, 3 in any one of the locations into 10 remaining 2 spaces in 10 ways. But I'll tell you, you have to give a very sound logic for that. 54 and then 3 appearing exactly thrice, 3 times. 3 appears thrice then, 3 times. So 3 is written. So 57, 243, that makes it 300. 300 numbers in all. Clear? Let's look at the next one. So just make sure, see, while we are learning how to count, it's also important to understand what it means by a count in different situations. That's very important to understand, and which is only logic. It cannot be imposed on you. You would have to internalize things and figure out what it means by a mode of counting for this situation, right? Number of ways in which three numbers in arithmetic progression. See, there are these numbers in all, 2n plus 1 consecutive natural numbers, 1, 2, 3 up to 2n plus 1. And we want to be able to select three numbers in arithmetic progression from this. We want to select three numbers in arithmetic progression from this. Question is, in how many ways can I do that? Three numbers have to be selected in arithmetic progression, right? Suppose the three numbers that you select are x, y, z. From this set, you select three numbers x, y, z that are in AP. The question is, how many such sets of x, y, z could be selected? The question is, how many such sets of x, y, z could be selected, right? Now, if they are in AP, one thing that is guaranteed is that 2y is x plus z. 2y is x plus z is guaranteed, isn't it? Which means that the two outer numbers must add up to an even number. That's the only requirement, isn't it? This is even. The two outer numbers of the AP must add up to an even number. That means x plus z must be even. Now, in order that x and z add up to an even number, either both must be even or both must be odd. So this then boils down to two cases. Either x, z both even, or x, z both odd. X, z both even or x, z both odd. Now, so the problem boils down to figuring out in how many ways can you select two even numbers from this, right? And they have to be distinct, by the way, because x and z in an AP would be distinct. So what does this mean? It means select two distinct even numbers from the set, or you select two distinct odd numbers from this given set.
So the two numbers can be same also. It will be an AP with b equal to 0.
Now, if d is 0, then x, y, z are all identical, isn't it? Huh? 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. Right? So select two distinct even numbers or select two distinct odd numbers. Now, in this set 1, 2, 2n plus 1, how many even numbers are there? N even numbers are there. And n plus 1 odd numbers, right? In this set, you have n even numbers and n plus 1 odd numbers. N even numbers and n plus 1 odd numbers are there in this. Yes or no? Right? No. So, from the n even, how many even do you want to select? 2. So, you can do that in NC2 ways. From n plus 1 odd, how many odd do you want to select? 2. In how many ways can you do that? N plus 1 C2 ways. That means instead of dealing with the AP, you want to deal with X and Z. In how many ways commensurate X, Z could be selected such that X plus Z is an even number? Because every time X plus Z is an even number, its middle number, which is Y, is always present in that set. So you don't have to focus around selecting Y. You just have to focus around selecting X and Z, because Y then gets automatically selected. Right? It's exactly halfway between X and Z. Right? So it's about selecting X and Z both even, which is this case, or selecting X and Z which is both odd in these many ways. This is what the problem reduces to. Right? So then this can be done in NC2 ways. Either we go this way or we go this way. So the total number of ways we could select X and Z, X plus Z even is both even, NC2 ways, or both odd, N plus 1, C2 ways. Thank you. So these are the total number of APs. The number of APs would be number of ways in which X and Z could be selected, such that X plus Z is even. That will be the number of APs. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. Why both odd? Because you can't select X and Z both even and X and Z both odd. Can you do that? Isn't it? You will either have X and Z both even, or you will have X and Z both odd. Will you have both cases collide with each other? No, that's not going to happen, right? And if you want to make the thing a little more complicated, you find all APs with common difference 1, all APs with common difference 2, all APs with common difference 3, and mess it up. Yes, now your question. Yes, you can do that. That's like raw counting. So you could do that raw counting, but the reason we are learning how to count is so that we can do counting in a more sophisticated manner. But yes, we could do that. That's manual way to count. You could do that. But in this case, since manual counting is fine if the total count is not large, if it's within reach, right? So in this case, it's large count. So will not make sense. Is that okay? And if you just simplify matters here, this would be n factorial by n minus 2 factorial by 2 factorial. This is n plus 1 factorial by n minus 1 factorial by 2 factorial. If you have already done that, it will turn out to be n squared. If you simplify matters, it will turn out to be n squared. So in the next problem, problem 5, we have a n-gon polygon. We have a n-gon polygon. This is a n-gon polygon. A long time ago, where I remember in some of the context, not here, but when I wrote a n-gon polygon, there was a simpleton who used to come from a place called Gobardanga. It's the outskirts of Kolkata. He was a sincere good fellow, but his ready response to a n-gon polygon, sir, এই বানানটা ভুল লিখেছেন, গন জিও এনি হবে, n-gon polygon gone, so no problem. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to create triangles out of the vertices of this polygon. How many vertices are there? N vertices. And we seek to create triangles. We seek to create triangles out of these n vertices, right? Now, if there was no condition imposed, see, one thing, no three of these points would be collinear. No three of these points would be collinear. So, a random selection of 3 points is permissible to produce a triangle. So, unconditionally speaking, the total number of triangles, if there was no condition, then the number of triangles would be NC3. Right? The total number of these triangles would be NC3. Now, from this NC3, but I'm not seeking these triangles. I'm only seeking to count those triangles whose sides don't coincide with the sides of the polygon. I'm seeking to count amongst these NC3 triangles only those whose sides don't coincide with the sides of the polygon. You know what I'm saying? See, for example, this you understand that there are NC3 triangles, right? But say, for example, a triangle like this is not acceptable. Why? Because one of its sides is coinciding with the side of the polygon. Or a triangle like this is not acceptable. Why? Because one of its sides is coinciding with the side of the polygon. Or a triangle like this, in which 2 sides are coinciding with the sides of the polygon. And you can't have a triangle in which all 3 sides will coincide with the sides of the polygon. That is not possible, right? Huh? I know you are buckling under pressure. Diwali right there and children are demanding so much. You know, Papa pataka lao, Papa पैंट फट गया पैंट लाओ, जूता पैर बड़ा हो गया पर बचपन का जूता पहना रहे हो. That is, so that's all right. Hmm? That is one of the conditions. That's not all. That's one of the conditions. Yes, no 2 points will be adjacent. And this is one of the conditions. You're right. So coming back to the problem per se. There are NC3 triangles unconditionally that could be constituted. And of these NC3 triangles, there are some triangles with 1 side common. There are some triangles with 2 sides common. So from NC3, I want to remove the triangles that have 1 side common. I want to remove the triangles that have 2 sides common. That will give me the required number of triangles. Because the remaining would be triangles with no side common. Right? So, are you fine with this? Right? So we want to remove triangles with 1 side common. We want to remove triangles with 2 sides common. Right? Right? Nahi. Didn't understand. What? Did you understand that there are NC3 triangles? Right? From this I want to remove all the triangles that have sides common with the polygon. Right? That means I want to remove triangles that have 1 side common with the polygon. I want to remove triangles that have 2 sides common with the polygon. Exactly 1 side and exactly 2 sides common with the polygon. Right? So, triangles with exactly 1 side common with the polygon. Let me find out the total number of triangles with exactly 1 side common with the polygon. With exactly 1 side common with the polygon. So now, see, for example, let me look at a triangle whose one side is A1, A2. Let me look at a triangle whose one side is A1, A2. Now, the triangle has exactly this side common, right? Say triangle with side A1, A2 common with the polygon. Triangle with side A1, A2 common with the polygon, for example, right? Exactly this side common, no other side common with the polygon. So now, if this is the common side, see, two vertices of the triangle have been selected. Now the third vertex cannot be A3. Why? Because if the third vertex is A2, A3, then it'll have two sides common with the polygon. The third vertex can't be AN. Why? Because then also it'll have two sides common with the polygon. So now, with this as one side common with the polygon, the third vertex can be selected to the exclusion of these four vertices. The third vertex cannot be selected from any one of these four. So therefore the third vertex can be selected from the remaining n minus 4. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
In order that it has only this side common with the polygon, in order that a triangle has only A1, A2 common with the polygon, the third vertex cannot be A3, cannot be AN, cannot be A1, cannot be A2. That means it can be any one of the remaining n minus 4, right? That means with A1, A2 common with the polygon, the third vertex can be selected in n minus 4 ways. And the number of ways in which the third vertex could be selected would be the number of triangles whose side A1, A2 is common with the polygon. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
That means with one side common with the polygon, with A1, A2 would be the number of ways in which the third vertex could be selected. N minus 4 ways in which the third vertex could be selected. Yes or no? That means number of triangles with side only A1, A2 common with the polygon would be n minus 4. Number of triangles with only A2, A3 common with the polygon will be n minus 4. Number of triangles with side only A3, A4 common with the polygon would be n minus 4. So the total number of triangles with exactly one side common would be n minus 4 plus n minus 4 plus n minus 4 plus n minus 4. How many times? N times. N times. So total number of triangles with exactly one side common, would be n into n minus 4. N into n minus 4 triangles. Right now? Right? Okay. Now triangles with exactly two sides common with the polygon. That means, how will you have two sides common with the polygon? The moment you select three consecutive vertices of the polygon, you'll have two sides common? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? So, with exactly two sides common with the polygon, see, for example, if you select A1, A2, A3 as the vertices, you have one triangle. It'll have two sides common, isn't it? This. It'll be a triangle with two sides common with the polygon, right? Then you'll have a triangle A2, A3, A4. You'll have a triangle A3, A4, A5, right? Going this way. You'll have AN, A1, A2, isn't it? This is it. These are all the triangles that you could constitute with three sides common with the polygon, right? And how many are these? N. A1, A2, A3, AN. There are n such triangles with exactly two sides common with the polygon. So, n such triangles with exactly n triangles with exactly two sides common with the polygon. So then, from NC3, I want to remove, these are the total number of triangles unconditionally that you could constitute from any three vertices, right? I want to remove the triangles with one side common. I want to remove triangles with two sides common, right? So triangles with one side common would be n into n minus 4. triangles with two sides common would be n. Then the remaining would be the triangles. This would give me the total number of triangles with no side common with the polygon. No side common with the polygon. Triangles A1, A2, A3 is one triangle. A2, A3, A4, A3, A4, A5, and then the last would be AN, A1, A2. These are all the triangles. I have actually listed out all the triangles for you. These are all the triangles with exactly two sides common. So one triangle, second triangle, third triangle, this would be the nth triangle. So n triangles with exactly two sides common with the polygon. We have a polygon of n sides in the next problem, problem 7. Hey, 6, you understand? 12C3 minus 7C3. 12C3 minus 7C3. We discussed this case in our concept class, right? In problem 7, the number of sides of a polygon with 44 diagonals. Now, what's looked upon as a diagonal is two vertices being joined. As long as those two vertices are not consecutive, then that's looked upon as a diagonal. For example, this is A1, A2, A3. Then A1, A3 is a diagonal, right? So the diagonal should not coincide with the side. That's all. The join of any two vertices to the exclusion of the sides would be the diagonals. Right? So now the number of diagonals, suppose there are n sides in this polygon. Suppose there are n sides in this polygon. Then in order to select any two vertices from n available, in your attempt to produce diagonals, you'll select any two vertices from n available, nc2. But out of these nc2, n are sides. So you want to remove n sides from this. This will then give me the total number of diagonals. Right? So that makes it 44. That makes it 44 for the given problem, and you want to solve for n. Yes, of course. See, a diagonal is the join of 2 points, any two vertices, as long as those vertices are not consecutive. Right? So in how many ways can you select two vertices? NC2. But out of these NC2 diagonals that you have selected, n are actually sides, because those are also joined of two vertices, isn't it? In this NC2, the n sides are included. In this NC2, ways in which you could select two vertices, the n sides are included. You want to exclude the n sides because those n sides don't constitute the diagonals. The remaining must be the number of diagonals, which is given to be 44. No? Sure. And you can solve for n from here. How much? N is 11. Okay. The other way you can look at it is, you select, say, any vertex. You select any vertex, say vertex A1. Right? This is vertex AN. Now, to create a diagonal with one vertex A1, you can't select AN, A2. That means you can't select any one of these three vertices. That means with A1 as one end of the diagonal, you are prohibited to select these three vertices to produce a diagonal. That means with this, you could only select any one of the remaining n minus 3 vertices to produce a diagonal. If you have selected A1, then to create a diagonal, you need one more vertex. Now that vertex can't be AN, can't be A1, can't be A2. Why? Because if you selected A2, it will be a side. If you selected AN, that will also be a side. And A1 anyways you can't select, right? So that means you can then select either A3 or A4 or AN minus 1. That means you can select n minus 3 of the remaining vertices to produce a diagonal. right? So with any given vertex, the number of diagonals that you can produce is n minus 3. With any given vertex, the number of diagonals that you can produce is n minus 3, yes or no? So for n vertices, the number of diagonals would be this much? Yes or no? Yes, because this includes the case in which A1, A3 and A3, A1 both are included. Right? So you want to divide this by 2. See, this is the number of ways in which, I hope you realize, if I select A1, the remaining can be selected in n minus 3 ways. So for each vertex, there are n minus 3 ways in which the second vertex could be selected. So for n vertices, there would be n into n minus 3 ways in which the second vertex could be selected. But this includes the case in which I have selected A1, A3. When I was focusing on A1, I selected A1, A3. But when I came to A3, I selected A3, A1. Right? But they are the same. So there is a duplicate count in this, n into n minus 3. So I want to divide this by 2 so as to get exclusive number of diagonals in which there is no duplication. And this in the problem adds up to 44. This is another way. So n into n minus 3 is 88. Okay, so n is 11, seems right. 11 into 8. Right? Number 8, you know how to find the factors, number of factors. You can write it as, no, you don't know? Again, so you, convention, yeah. When I said, you must be knowing how to do this, you said, although I knew you meant yes. So I can skip 8. Two-factor products. In problem 9, see, we have the following numbers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 99, 100. These are the numbers given to you, right? And you want to select two numbers and multiply them. That's a two-factor product. You want to select two numbers from these and multiply them. That's a two-factor product, right? But we want to find only those two-factor products that are multiples of 3. Now, first of all, if there was no condition, if I had to just find all two-factor products, 100 C2, right? From 100, I select 2. So, all two-factor products would add up to 100 C2. Will give me the total number of two-factor products. Every time you select two numbers, you have selected a two-factor product. So the whole question is, in how many ways can you select two numbers from 100? That will be the number of two-factor products, right? 100 C2 ways. Okay. Now, instead of finding all that are multiples of 3, let me find those that are not multiples of 3. See, if AB is not a multiple of 3, if AB is not a multiple of 3, A into B, that is not a multiple of 3, it means A cannot be a multiple of 3 and B cannot be a multiple of 3. So this would mean A not of the form 3K, B not of the form 3K. A and B are not multiples of 3. So let me find out all those two-factor products that are not multiples of 3. You know what I'm saying? Let me find out. See, these are the total number of two-factor products. The number of two-factor products that are not multiples of 3 can be found by selecting A, which is not a multiple of 3, and selecting B, which is not a multiple of 3. Then that will give me all two-factor products that are not multiples of 3, right? Right? So, now, from these numbers, those that are multiples of 3 are how many numbers? 33, isn't it? Those that are multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 99 are all multiples of 3. I don't want to, in order to find AB such that A and B are not multiples of 3, I can't select from this set. I'll repeat. There are 100 numbers the original problem boils down to finding all two-factor products that are multiples of 3. Now that's a little more complicated problem to deal with. However, I want to deal with the complement of this problem. That means I want to find all two-factor products that are not multiples of 3. Let me find that. First of all, unconditionally, how many two-factor products are there? 100C2. Some of them are multiples of 3. Some of them are not multiples of 3. This is all that you have. A two-factor product will either be a multiple of 3 or it will not be a multiple of 3. Right? I'm trying to find all two-factor products that are not multiples of 3. From 100C2, I remove the count that are not multiples of 3. Then the remaining must be multiples of 3. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Right? Now. So, if I have to select A and B, I can't select from these 33 numbers. I can't select from these 33 numbers. These are 33 numbers in all. So if I am selecting AB such that AB is not a multiple of 3, then A and B cannot be selected from this set. So there are 100 numbers in all, 33 prohibited from this count. How many remaining? 67. So A and B would have to be selected from the remaining 67. So AB to be selected from the remaining 100 minus 3, that is 67 numbers, such that A into B is not a multiple of 3, such that A into B is not a multiple of 3. So then I have to select two numbers from 67. In how many ways can I do that? 67 C2 ways. This I can do in 67 C2 ways. So these are the numbers. These are all two-factor products that are not multiples of 3, right? These are two-factor products that are not multiples of 3. That are not multiples of 3. Right? These are total number of two-factor products. So from this, if I remove those that are not multiples of 3, then what I get is those that are multiples of 3. So two-factor products that are multiples of 3 total 100C2 minus those that are not multiples of 3. Isn't it? Whatever it turns out to be. Now, number 10. You'll have to then look at cases. A multiple of 3, B not a multiple of 3, vice versa, A and B both multiples of 3. Then you'll have to add those cases. You can do that. A multiple of 3 but B not a multiple of 3. A not a multiple of 3, B a multiple of 3. And A and B both multiples of 3. Then you'll have to look at it that way. You'll have to then add those 3 cases. Isn't it? That's another way of doing it. Number 10. We want to constitute 5-digit numbers which are divisible by 4 we want to constitute 5-digit numbers divisible by 4 from the set from this set of numbers, right? And I'm not permitting repetition of digits in the number, right? Without repetition of digits. all 5-digit numbers divisible by 4, in which, from this set, in which the digits are not repeated, right? So one thing, for a number to be divisible by 4, the last 2 digits of the number must be divisible by 4, isn't it? Right? That means, say, we could have, let's say, in the units and the tens place, the remaining 3 digits are different. We could have had, let's say, 04. We could have had 40. We could have had 20. We could have had 12. We could have had 32. We could have had 24. Yes or no? Isn't it? Right? Have I spelled out all the cases? Right? All cases, right? Now, look at these 3 cases first, right? Now, in each of these cases, say these cases, I've consumed 2 digits. From this, I've consumed 2 digits. How many am I left with? 3 digits. So the remaining 3 digits have to be permuted in these 3 spaces, and it can be done in 3 factorial ways. Say, for example, 04, right? I've used up 04. Now 1, 2, 3 have to be arranged in these 3 spaces, and that can happen in 3 factorial ways, right? So 3 factorial for this, similarly 3 factorial for this, similarly 3 factorial for this. Yes or no? So this is 18, right? Now, let me look at these cases. Right? Now, for example, 1, 2. And there are 3 spaces. There are 3 digits, right? There are 3 digits. So the 3 spaces can be filled up in 3 factorial ways. But I want to exclude from these 6 cases the cases in which 0 appears in the first place. See, if I have 1 and 2 in the last 2 places, then the remaining 3 can be placed in these 3 remaining spaces in 3 factorial ways. But I can't have 0 in this place. Why? Because then it will not be a 5-digit number. So from 3 factorial cases, I want to remove those cases in which 0 appears here. I'll repeat now. No? Anyone who wants me to repeat this thought? I'll repeat. See, with 1, 2 in the last 2 spaces, the remaining 3 spaces can be filled up from 0, 3, 4 out of these numbers. So these 3 can fill up these 3 spaces in 3 factorial ways. But 0 in the first place has to be excluded. So from this 3 factorial, I will have to exclude those cases in which 0 appears here. Right? So if 0 appears here, then the remaining 2, let's say, could be either 3, 4 or 4, 3. So these are 2 cases. I have to exclude 2 cases from 3 factorial. Those 2 cases are the ones where 0 appears in the first place. So from this, I exclude the 2 cases. Say 0, 3, 4 and 0, 4, 3 are excluded. 2 cases are excluded. That makes it 4. Right? So with 1, 2 in the last 2 places, there are 4 cases of this. Similarly, 4 cases of this and 4 cases of this. That makes it 4 into 3. 12 cases for this and 18 cases for this. So that makes it 30 cases in all. So 18 plus 12, that makes it 30 ways in which this could be achieved. Yes or no? 4 cases for this, 4 cases for this, 4 cases for this. So 4 into 3, 4 plus 4 plus 4. Right? How's that? number 11. There is a unlimited count of red, black, white and green balls, right? Let's say unlimited number of red balls, unlimited number of black balls, unlimited number of white balls, and they're all identical, and unlimited number of green balls, right? And we want to be able to select 10 balls in all, right? So again, the count is not about the specific ball that you're selecting. The count is about how many red, how many black, how many white, how many green, right? You could have had, say, one mode of counting could be 2 from here, 2 from here, 3 from here, and 3 from here. That's one way to select 10 balls, right? And in this case, they're not prohibiting us from selecting 0 balls, for example. So, for example, this could be 0 balls and this could be 5 balls. That's another mode of selecting 10 balls from this. So the total number of ways in which I could select 10 balls would be about the following. So I select x1 red balls, I select x2 black balls, I select x3 white balls, and I select x4 green balls. And the total must add up to 10. Where? So a whole number solution to this would be one mode of selection. The whole thing then is the number of whole number solutions to this equation is what I'm seeking, right? So I'm seeking the number of whole number solutions to this equation. That is, xi's are all whole numbers. Now this is n plus r minus 1 c r minus 1, right? Remember this? The last result that we did, n plus r c r minus 1. In this case, n is 10 and r is 4. R is 4. N is 10 and r is 4. Isn't it? That's all. The total number of balls to be selected, 10. Confusion kya? Huh? Wow. Simple, na? If I said you have to select at least one from each set, then it will be n minus 1 c r minus 1. Then at least one of each kind would have to be selected, right? Kya? The number of natural numbers less than 10 to power 4 in which all digits are different. Number of natural numbers, the next problem, 12. We want to find number of natural numbers less than 10 to power 4. No, if it is only about number of natural numbers less than 10 to power 4, that's 9,999, right? But in which all digits are different. We want to carry this count. All digits different, right? So what we realistically do is we partition the numbers strictly as 4-digit numbers. See, eventually the biggest is 9999, so there'll be 4-digit numbers that will be of the form ABCD. All 4-digit numbers where A cannot be 0, right? Then there would be 3-digit numbers that are ABC where A cannot be 0. Then there would be 2-digit numbers AB where A cannot be 0. Then there is a single digit number A where A cannot be 0, right? So we want to find all 4-digit numbers in which A, B, C, D are different, plus all 3-digit numbers in which A, B, C are different, plus all 2-digit numbers in which A and B are different, plus 9 such numbers from here. Right? That's what we want to do. Single digit numbers. Right? Now, all 4-digit numbers means A cannot be 0. That means A would have to be selected in 9 ways. A would have to be selected in 9 ways. Now B can be 0 but can't be what A is. So 9 ways of selecting B. Yes or no? No. 8 ways of selecting C. And 7 ways of selecting D. So this would be the number of 4-digit numbers in which A, B, C, D are all different. Right now? All 3-digit numbers. A would be anything but 0. So A could be selected in 9 ways. B can be 0 but not what A is. So B can be selected in 9 ways. And C could be selected in 8 ways. So this would give me the total number of 3-digit numbers in which digits are all different. A 9 ways, B 9 ways. So that makes it 81 ways. And then 9 cases for this. So all that you need to do is this plus this plus this plus this. Whatever it turns out to be. What's the answer? 5274. Okay. I'm assuming you've done the calculation right. Problem 13. We want to constitute 6-digit natural numbers. 6-digit natural numbers. Made with the digits, using the digits 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to constitute 6-digit natural numbers using these digits 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously, then repetition would be the call, right? And now, even for repetition, there is a clause here that every digit has to appear at least once. Every digit appears at least once. So 6-digit numbers to be framed out of these 4 digits in such a way that in any given choice of number, each of the digits must appear at least once. The whole thing then is also then about partitioning the problem into categories. We can have numbers of the kind, say for example, a number could be constituted by using 1 thrice and 2, 3, 4. A number could be constituted out of this set, for example. A given number selected thrice and the remaining 3 numbers once each. Yes or no? We could have had 2, 2, 2. Then 1, 3, 4, and so on and so forth, right? And so on and so forth. So, a given digit thrice and the remaining once each. And the remaining once each. Right? That's one way. That's one way. Let me do this count first. Right? Let me carry this count. Now, first of all, the digit that would be selected 3 times. First of all, I'll select the digits and then permute them to create numbers. You know what I'm saying? So first of all, the digit, say this case, for example, say this case, just this case. How many numbers can I create out of just this case? How many are these? 6. So I have to permute them. To create numbers, I'll have to permute them in 6 spaces. But this is permutation of 6 things in which 3 are alike and of one kind and the remaining 3 different. Yes or no? So the number of numbers that could be created, let's say out of this case, would be 6 factorial, 6 things in which 3 are alike of one kind and remaining different would be this. Yes or no? Right? Right? Now, how many such cases? So for this, these many numbers, I can have 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. So for each one of them, it's 6 factorial by 3 factorial. So for 4 such cases, I have 4 into 6 factorial by 3 factorial. Yes or no? So that makes it 120 into 4, 480. 480? There are 480 numbers in which a given digit appears thrice and the remaining 3 digits appear exactly once. No? Yes, no? So there are 480 such cases that we've obtained. Right? The second possibility is, so this is all one set of cases. Now the second set of cases would be, say a case like this. A given number appearing twice, another appearing twice, and then the remaining 2 appearing once each. This category is also possible. Yes or no? 2 digits appearing twice and the remaining 2 appearing once. Say for example this case. Just this case. How many are these? So I have to create a number out of this. The question is, how many numbers can I create out of this? I'll have to permute these digits, but they are not all different digits. These are digits in which 2 are alike and of one kind, 2 are alike and of another kind, and the remaining 2 different. So this makes it 6 factorial divided by 2 factorial into 2 factorial into this case. What for? No, this is for just this. Only for this, say 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4 will give me 6 factorial by 2 factorial, 2 factorial, yes or no? 6 things in which 2 are alike and of one kind, 2 are alike and of a second kind, and the remaining 2 different. But the question is, for each one of them we have these many numbers. Now it's about selecting 2 numbers of one kind and 2 numbers of another kind. That means the numbers that are repeated, 2 such numbers have to be selected from 4 C2 ways. See, I can select 1 and 2 to repeat twice. I can select 2 and 3 to repeat twice. I can select 1 and 3 to repeat twice. So it's about selecting 2 numbers, each one of them repeating twice. So from 4 available, if I have to select 2, I can do so in 4 C2 ways. So this would give me a number, say 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. This one. And then permute them in how many ways? 6 factorial by 2 factorial, 2 factorial. This will give me a number 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 1. And the number of ways in which this case could be permuted is 6 factorial by 2 factorial, 2 factorial. Same thing, 6 things in which 2 are alike, appearing twice, etc. So now, how many cases are these? 4 C2 cases. These are 4 C2 cases, and for each of these 4 C2 cases, these are the number of numbers you could create. I'll repeat now. Hey? I'll repeat. Okay. I'm saying for any one of this case, this is a case where 1, 2 has been selected to repeat. This is a case in which 1, 2 have been selected to repeat. Right? So if 1 and 2 are repeating twice each, the number of numbers you could create would be this much. If 2, 3 are selected to repeat twice each, then again these many. 3, 4, 1, 4 are selected to repeat twice each, then again these many cases. But that means for each one of them, we'll have these many numbers created, these many numbers created, these many numbers created, these many numbers created. But how many are these? These are 4C2. From 4, you're selecting 2 that will repeat twice. Isn't it? So these are 4C2 cases in all. And for each of these cases, these are the numbers that you can generate. Am I confusing you? No, no. So 4C2 to select the 2 numbers that will repeat twice. And for each of the cases, the number of numbers that could be generated would be 6 factorial by 2 factorial into 2 factorial. How much does it? 720, 180 into 6. 1080? Yes, ask, please ask. Clear kya? So 1080 in which 2 numbers are repeating twice, and 480 cases in which 1 number is repeating thrice. So total cases would be 1080 plus 480 would be the 1560 cases in all. 1560 cases in all. Is that okay or not okay with you? No? Not sure kya? Perfect. Number 14. The total number of 7-digit numbers. We are talking of a 7-digit number. Total number of 7-digit numbers, sum of whose digits is even. That means n1 plus n2 plus n7 must be an even number. Right? All 7-digit numbers such that the sum of the digits is even. Right? So now, first of all, unconditionally speaking, how many 7-digit numbers in all? So n1 can be filled up in how many ways? 9 ways, because I can't have 0 in n1. Right? n2 in 10 ways, n3 in 10 ways, n7 in 10 ways. Right? So this is like 9 into 10 to power 6, 7-digit numbers. Half of them will have some of their digits even, half will have some of their digits odd. Yes or no? Half of them will have some of the digits even, half will have some of the digits odd. So then half of 9 into 10 to power 6 will be such that some of the digits is even. That means 45 into 10 to power 5 would be the number of numbers with some of the digits being even. And the same number would be some of the digits being odd. Right? Okay. Now, let's look at the rank of random in the dictionary. First, I'll tell you. I've done? You have done? No. But, okay. First of all, what I want to communicate is, I'll first tell you a regular way of finding the rank, and then I'll give you a shortcut. All right. So let's random. All possible alphabets are arranged, as in a dictionary. And when I do that, I want to be able to find the rank of random in a dictionary. Right? Given a dictionary is formed only out of the alphabets of random. Taking all at a time. Right? Rank of random. Rank of random. Now, the dictionary would start with all words starting with A. So, all words that start with A, that means, see, these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The remaining 5 would have to be permuted in the remaining 5 spaces. If these are starting with A, then there are 5 spaces to be filled up. from the remaining 5 letters. And that can be done in how many ways? 5 factorial ways. So words starting with A would be 5 factorial. Right? So A first, then D. Words starting with D. Again, 5 spaces to be filled up in 5 factorial ways. Words starting with D. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, then M. M would be rank 3, right? So starting with M, again 5 factorial, and then N, and then O, and then R, right? Starting with M then, 5 factorial, isn't it? Words starting with M would be, put M in the first place, and the remaining 5 in 5 factorial ways, 5 factorial. Then after M, N, words starting with N, in 5 factorial ways. Then O, words starting with O, in 5 factorial ways. Now, words starting with R. When they start with R, it starts with a RAD. Yes or no? It starts with a RAD. Do you realize that? That means if it starts with a RAD, then all words starting with RAD would be how many in numbers? 3 factorial, because RAD is fixed. The remaining 3 spaces can be filled up by the remaining 3 letters in 3 factorial ways. Right? Words starting with RAM. After all words starting with RAD, you will have all words starting with RAM. All words starting with RAM, the remaining 3 spaces can be filled up in 3 factorial ways. Right? Then you have RAN DMO. RAN DMO would be the next. Yes or no? Starting with N, RAN, all RAMs consumed. Then with RAN, the next would be DMO. So this would be one case. And then you will have random. Right? So now these are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 into 5 factorial, that makes it 600. Plus 6 plus 6, 12. And then 1. Right? That makes it 613 before this. Therefore, the rank of this will be 614. The rank of this is 614. That's the logic. But now let me just, with the same logic, you know, any shortcut is based on this logic only. So let me tell you a shortcut. You know what you should be doing. You don't have to do all this. You don't have to break your head so hard. What you should be doing is the following. First of all, rank the alphabets that appear. See, A comes first, and then D, and then M, N, O, R, right? Rank them in the order 1, 2, 3, 4 as is relevant, right? Now, come to this first place, right? Now, to the right of this R, how many are less than 6? 5. So write a 5 here. Look at all numbers to the right of R. How many are less than 6? 5. Okay. Then come to A. How many are to the right of 1 less than 1? 0. To the right of 4, how many are less than 4? 2. To the right of this, how many are less than 2? 0. To the right of 5, 1, 3, 0. Right? Once you have written this, then do the following. Do a 0 factorial here, a 1 factorial here, a 2 factorial here, a 3 factorial here, a 4 factorial here, and a 5 factorial here. Write this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 factorials. Okay. And we want to figure out the logic independently. And then this into this 600, 0 into 4, 0, 2 into 6, 12, 0 into 2, 0, 1 into 1, 1, 0 into 0, 0. 613. The rank will be 614. The rank will be plus 1, will be 614. Okay, let me tell you what if there is repetition. Fine, let me tell you what if there is repetition. But you understand this, right? Do you all understand? Okay, I'll explain. No, I want you to figure out this logic. I've told you the fundamentals. Based on that, I built it up. Okay. So first of all, I ranked these letters. The manner in which they appear in the count. And then I look at this. How many numbers less than 6 to the right of this? 5. How many numbers less than 1 to the right of this? 0. Less than 4 to the right of this? 2 and 3. 2. To the right of this, how many numbers less than 2? 0. To the right of 5, how many numbers less than 5? 1. And then 0. Right? Once you do this, then all that you do is below this 0 factorial, 1 factorial, 2 factorial, 3 factorial, 4 factorial, 5 factorial. Multiply these out and add. And then eventually you get 613, add one more to get the rank. Okay, now her question, what if there is repetition? Let me tell you what if there is repetition.
The word is different of which we have to find the rank. The word of which we have to find the rank is different than the word.
Then start with that word. What is there? Start with that word. Suppose I gave you ANDOMR. Right? And find the rank of random. The same thing will apply, isn't it? If I give you a word andomr and say find the rank of random, even if you'll apply the same logic, isn't it? Now, suppose there is repetition. And I want you to independently figure out the rationale behind doing this. But this is fast. This will work. You don't have to, do that elaborate computation as we did. Now, suppose again, I'll tell you a shortcut. I'll tell you a shortcut for that also. I'll start with the shortcut maybe. Say, banana. There is repetition here. There is repetition here. A appearing, right? N and A are appearing. So, let me rank A 1 1 1, right? B 2 N 3. So now again I am arranging like I do in a dictionary, and I want to find the rank of banana in that dictionary. Okay, the shortcut. Let me tell you the shortcut for this. Kushal, one thing, Kushal, start sitting in the front. Stop being a backbencher forever in life. I mean, even when I'm communicating things in jest to you, there is a message that is being passed on. But you don't test me all the time. Now, how many less than 2? 3. But what I do is, these 3 are repeating. I divide by 3 factorial. Right? How many less than 1 to the right of 1? 0. How many less than 3? 2. No, now when I have to divide, see, I'll tell you something. I'll have to include this. N repeating twice, A repeating twice. Then I'll include this when I have to divide. N repeating twice, A repeating twice. So 2 factorial and 2 factorial. All that I'm saying is, how many less than 3 to the right? 2. Now, you have to divide by those that are repeating. Now, when you have to look at those that are repeating, then you include this 3. This 3 and 3 repeating twice, so 2 factorial. This A and A repeating twice, you write 2 factorial, right? Then, how many less than A? 0. How many less than 3? 1, and then 0, right? And then you do the following: 0 factorial, 1 factorial, 2 factorial, 3 factorial, 4 factorial, 5 factorial. Now, this into this, 120, 20, this into this, plus 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 this into this, will give you the rank, Now, plus 1 will give you the rank, That is what you need to do. Figure out the logic, stay put with this. Don't apply the shortcut ones right away. Find the rank from independent considerations. Rank these letters first, and then go B and to the right of B. How many less than this? 1, 2, 3. Right? And they are repeating. So by 3 factorial. 3 repeating. 0. Then after 3, how many less than 3? 2. But then when I have to divide, I include these 3 appearing twice, 2 factorial. These 1 appearing twice, 2 factorial. 0. Less than 3, 1, 0. And then 0 factorial, 1 factorial, 2 factorial, 3 factorial, 4 factorial, 5 factorial, and multiply. Which one? These, because 3 is not less than 2. Yes. No. We'll always take, see, in as far as the numerator is concerned, I'll just look at the numbers that are less than this number to the right? As far as denominator is concerned, when you'll have to look at how many are repeating, then you'll include this in the sense, when I divide by 2 factorial, how many less than 3? 1 and 1, 2, right? So 2. When I have to divide, then I'll have to look at those that are repeating, but inclusive of this. Then it will be inclusive of this. So then, not numbers more than this, but numbers up to 3. So then 3 and 3, 2 factorial, 1 and 1, 2 factorial. That's what we do, right? So how much does this turn out to be? 65? So 64? How much? Can you just tell? Have you done a calculation? This is 60? Okay, whatever it turns out to be. This is what you need to be doing. Now, sorry, I need to make one amends here. Just one amends. Sorry, just fix this. when I wrote this B here, numbers less than 2 are 1 and 1. 1, 1 and 1, 3, right? But when I have to divide, see, for all those that start with B, there would be repetitions of n also. So when I have to divide, I'll have to look at those that are repeating as well. So n and n, even though they are not less than 2, they are repeating. So I again divide by 2 factorial for the sake of repetition of n. I made this mistake. Just fix this. You know what I'm saying? Right? So after 2, look at these 2 also that are repeating, and they contributed 2 factorial in the denominator. A, they contribute a 3 factorial in the denominator. So then this would be, how much does it turn out to be? 35. So the rank will be 35. Right? So this is what you do when you have to repeat. Right? So simple, right? Simple. 16. The value of 1 into 1 factorial plus 2 into 2 factorial plus 3 into 3 factorial plus n into n factorial is what we need to find, right? So in a very general sense, the rth term of this summation is like a r into r factorial is the rth term, right? So this is a routine r plus 1 minus 1 into r factorial. And r plus 1 into r factorial is what? R plus 1 factorial. So this is r plus 1 factorial minus r factorial. That's TR. Right? If you put r equal to 1, you get the first term. If you put r equal to 2, you will get the second term. R equal to 3, you will get the third term. R equal to n, you get the nth term. So what is T1? 2 factorial minus 1 factorial. What is T2? 3 factorial minus 2 factorial. T3, 4 factorial minus 3 factorial. Tn would be n plus 1 factorial minus n factorial. Right? And then, confused kya? I add. So summation TR, r equal to 1 to n. See, terms get cancelled like this. You'll have n plus 1 factorial minus 1, a telescopic summation. Huh? This r I wrote as r plus 1 minus 1 into r factorial. Now r plus 1 into r factorial will be r plus 1 factorial minus r factorial. Right? Just multiplying this into this minus this into this. Put r equal to 1, T2 minus 2 minus 1, then 3 minus 2, then 4 minus 3, and then n plus 1 minus n. If you add a telescopic summation, n plus 1 factorial minus 1 is what is obtained. Clear? There are P intermediate stations on a railway line from one terminus to another. From one terminus to another, there are P intermediate stations. There is terminus 1 and there is terminus 2. And there are P intermediate stations S1, S2, S3, SP. These are the P intermediate stations. From T1 to T2, right? In how many ways a train can stop at 3 of these intermediate stations if no 2 are consecutive? These are P intermediate stations, and you want a train to stop at 3 of the stations such that no 2 are consecutive. That means one could have S1, S3, S11, for example. But one can't have S1, S2 and S4. No 2 should be consecutive. That's not acceptable, right? I hope you understand this. We want to select 3 stations such that no 2 are consecutive. So can I have like S1, S6 and S20? Yes. Can I have S1, S5, S6? No, because in this 2 are consecutive. I want choice of 3 stations such that no 2 are consecutive, right? Now, see, the way almost all these problems are sorted is what's called the floating method, where instead of looking at the stations where the train stops, we look at the stations where it does not stop. We look at the stations where it does not stop. So then, if 3 are stopping stations, then there are P minus 3 non-stopping stations. There are P minus 3 non-stopping stations. Does not stop at these stations. So how many are does not? DN1 does not stop station. DN2 does not stop station. DN3 does not stop station. DN P minus 3 does not stop station. These are the non-stopping stations, right? There are P minus 3 non-stopping stations, non-stopping stations. Now, in this floating method, what we do is, look, in these floating does not stop stations, there is one place here between DN1 and DN2, one place there between DN2 and DN3, one place between DN3 and DN4, one place here and one place here, and one place here. Now, can you tell me how many arrows are these? P minus 2. See, between any 2 there is 1, between any 3 there are 2, between P minus 3 there will be P minus 4 plus 2 at the end, that is P minus 2 arrows. Do you see that there are P minus 2 arrows? Yes or no? Yes, sir. So there are P minus 2 arrows that I have symbolized there. There are P minus 2 arrows that have been designated there, right? Now, realize that no 2 of these arrows are consecutive. Do you realize that these arrows are not consecutive? No 2 of these arrows are consecutive, right? Are consecutive. No 2 of these vertical arrows are consecutive, right? Yes or no? Now, this therefore could be used as eligible locations for the stations where they stop. You know what I'm saying? These could be used as arrows for stations that where it could stop. That means the stopping stations, the 3 stopping stations could be any of the 3 arrows. Any of the 3 arrows can be the stopping stations. Because if I select any 3 arrows as stopping stations, they would always be separated by at least one non-stopping station. So no 2 arrows would be consecutive. No 2 arrows will be consecutive, yes or no? Yes, sir. Right. So it's all about selecting 3 of these arrows. It's all about selecting 3 of these arrows. Select 3 arrows for 3 non-stopping stations. For stopping stations, because then no 3 of the stopping stations will be consecutive. So in how many ways? From P minus 2, you want to select 3. From P minus 2 arrows, you want to select 3 and place the stopping stations there. I know what you're saying. You're saying, see, this is a floating array. It doesn't mean it has to be located here only. This is floating. This is floating. That's why. That's exactly what you wanted to ask. It's just a floating set of does not stop stations, you know. So P minus 2 C3. P minus 2 C3 ways in which 3 non-stopping stations could be selected. 3 non-stopping stations could be selected. Is that okay? train going from Cambridge to London stops at 9 intermediate stations. Nine intermediate stations. Right? 6 people enter the train during the journey. Which does not include Cambridge. 6 enter the train with 6 different tickets. Now, when I say a different ticket means, let's say 2 people could enter S1, but if they are different, that means they shouldn't have the same destination. You know what I'm saying? 2 people could enter S1, but when I say different tickets means both could be going to S2. One could be going to S2, the other one could be going to S3. Then they would be looked upon as different tickets. Same ticket means same starting point and same destination. That's the same ticket. But if at least one of them is different, either the starting point or the destination, then the ticket would be looked upon as a different ticket. Now the question is, in how many ways, if 6 people enter the train with 6 different tickets, then how many such ways this could be done? That means how many different sets of 6 tickets? How many different sets of 6 tickets is what we are seeking? Yes or no? Are you too mentally tired to understand this? No. Look, first of all, let's understand how many different tickets in all are there. From S1, at the counter of S1, ticket counter for S1, it will issue tickets for S2, S3, S4, S9 or London. 9. S1 will issue 9 tickets. One for S2, one for S3, one for S4, S9 and London. 9 different tickets will be issued from S1. 8 different tickets would be issued from S2. 7 from this. 1 from this. So how many different sets of tickets? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 9. That makes it 45. 9 into 10 by 2. 45 different sets of tickets are there, from which you need to select 6. From which you need to select 6. So that makes it 45 C6. 6 people with different tickets means from these 45, there are 6 different tickets to be selected. So 45 C6, right? Stand back.